Martin, if England fall at the quarter-final stage against the French, would that be classed as failure? Let me hit you with that first. Would that be deemed as failure?
Well, why would it be? For instance, I mean, you're into the last 8 of the World Cup. England would have expectations of going maybe to the final, maybe even to win it. But so have France. So have other teams. Brazil also have the same thing. So if France, because it's a European game, France and England playing. So let's say England had been in the draw alongside Brazil and been beaten by Brazil in the quarter-final. Would that be considered a failure? I don't think so. France are world champions at the end of it. So I don't think so. It's on the evening, obviously on the evening now, and you're into knockout competition.
The reason I ask is that going into the tournament, it was widely thought that Southgate and England, am I right, Simon, will need to achieve more than they did, say at the Euros or the previous World Cup. The previous World Cup, of course, semi-final stage. The Euros, the final stage. Need to achieve more. In other words, if you don't win it, come damn close to winning it. Then that wouldn't be deemed as failure. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, you're it's a real test. They've contested a final and they've contested a semi-final of a World Cup in the last number of years. Gareth Southgate's record, actually, I could be wrong here, the other side of the table here, is actually it's pretty decent, in all honesty. What happened is that they went into the competition not having won some glorified friendly matches in that competition they call the Nations League. Yeah. That's what that is. And then people take umbrage really to some of the results they lost, I think, to Hungary and things. But it never really mattered to me, because I felt as if they're going to get out of the group stages. You're into the last 16. Chances are, if you've won your group, you might get supposedly a lesser side in the last 16.
But you still think he's a lucky manager, Southgate?
Well, so talk me through that.
Well, I think he's a lucky manager in terms of A, getting the job in the first place, and B...
Well, I'm not dispute that.
Let me walk you through it, then you can critique it. Yeah?
No problem.
A, getting the job in the first place, and B, being in a position where the draws have presented England with huge opportunities to beat opposition that on paper you would suggest they could beat. Now, the one thorn that sticks out from that is Germany. Beating Germany in the Euros, but that's the Germany that we think of in our minds, not the Germany that we played in that European Championships that were a very poor side and have proven to be a poor side in these tournaments. So the compelling thing for me is I don't think Gareth Southgate is a failure if he doesn't win this tournament. I think the question is who do England have to beat eventually under Gareth Southgate to suggest that real progress has been made against beating teams on paper that people don't expect us to. People expect us to beat Ukraine. They expect us to beat the USA or the Welsh. They expect us to beat the Senegalese. They expect us to beat the teams that we played in the World Cup and the Euros. But when we come up against Italy, when we come up against Croatia, when we come up against Belgium, the question is, do we then beat those teams?
Right.
And then the tenure of Gareth Southgate comes into question, because if you only beat the teams that on paper you should really beat, how much of a success can you say you are when it comes to a 50-50 game, and the 50-50 games every time we lose?
Is that fair, Martin? Having said that, as an ex-manager, you'll say you can only beat what's in front of you.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the obvious answer for a start. That is correct. If you really analyse it as much as Simon's doing, and that's to the nth degree, then you can pull holes right, left, and centre. Are England expected?
How's that to the nth degree, Martin? That's a simple fact.
No, it's what it is. You are looking at games we would have expected. Let's start with this competition, regardless of the results in the last year, that you would have expected England. Number one seeds in the group to go through, because some of those are lesser lights.
So double job, yeah?
Absolutely right. Fairly decent chance that they can, if they are going to, let's assume that they win their group, play a lesser light team that has finished second in the group. That doesn't necessarily always happen. Something like this.
But in this instance, they did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you're in the quarter final, and you're taking on the world champions.
Correct.
Right. Okay. If you lose that game, just let's say you lost that game 4-3, and one of the most exciting games ever.
No, I don't.
Do you?
No,
Right,
I don't.
okay.
No, absolutely I don't.
Fine.
The terminology failure is not one I'd attach to it.
Okay.
I look at it and say, if we got to the quarterfinals and we play the French and we give them a real game,
yes, and
we come away from that game not winning, I wouldn't say that's a failure. I'd say it's a disappointment.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right.
I'm in total agreement with that.
So what was the win
Absolutely.
over Senegal? I mean, if you listen to Jack Grealish, the win over Senegal at the weekend was a statement win.
A massive stepping stone for us. You know, we knew it was going to be a difficult game, which it was. But I think, you know, the way the lads played and the way that we seen the game out was just brilliant. I really do, and I think that's one thing that we're doing as a team now. And credit to the manager, you know, and his coaching staff. They've obviously worked on it with us and helped us. And the one thing for me that we're doing now, we're not just winning games. You know, we're controlling games and seeing games out and stuff like this. And you know, I think we're just going up at the moment. You know, we're obviously scored a lot of goals. I think the most in the tournament, maybe. You know, 3 clean sheets on the bounce. So, you know, it's a team full of confidence, and you know, a team full of togetherness as well. That's one thing that I've always said about this team. You know, we're rivals. You know, when we play against each other on a Saturday for our clubs, but you know, as soon as we come here, we're a bunch of best mates that play together, and I'm sure you guys can see that.
It pretty much summed it up. And they're not only winning games, they're controlling games, man.
Well, you know, first of all, Senegal could have scored twice before England scored.
Absolutely.
So that's a different. That
Absolutely
becomes
right.
a different ball game.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Correct.
different.
Yeah.
Then you're chasing the game. You've started the game. England, I thought, started the game indifferently in the sense that not really in the front foot. You can pass the ball. You can pass the ball in your own half for as long as you like, because the opposition, particularly Senegal, are going to drop back anyway and try and hit you on the break. So there's half an hour in that game where, in actual fact, the best chances fell to Senegal.
True.
That becomes a totally different issue then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
So this, and Jack Grealish can talk about spirit. Well, every team has a bit of spirit. They want to hide the fact that, you know, that two lads might not be speaking to each other in a dressing room or something like this here. But eventually, I mean, I managed the Republic of Ireland. The one thing that we did have, we had just incredible team spirit. It only takes you so far. Eventually, you have to have a lot of ability to,
but it's
win
fabulous
football
to have it, isn't
well,
it?
it is.
Yeah.
Yes, but lots of teams have it.
As
Lots
well
of
as
teams
that,
have
though,
it.
as
And
well
if you're
as
winning
teams-
some football matches,
It
as well
helps.
too, it helps. But just get back to that point. A different ball game altogether if Senegal take the lead in that match. Then it's
Then
a
it's
chase.
totally different.
I agree.